Welcome to Batcast 66. It's the podcast where we watch every single episode of the 1966 Batman TV show and talk about it. Today we are talking about Batman episode 29, The Bookworm Turns. Teleplay and story by Rick Volaerts.
Yeah, I don't know how you pronounce that.
And it's directed by Larry Pierce. Both names I don't really recognize, but that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Kendall.
I'm Scott. So we get a new villain again.
Yeah, this is pretty fun.
It's another one created for this series who doesn't originally come from the comics, but was introduced in 1989's Secret Origin Special #1 to the comics, and is an enemy of the Huntress, and is featured in Huntress number 7 through 11.
Yeah. So if you couldn't tell from the title, we got Bookworm here today.
Yeah, played by Roddy McDowall, who I wasn't expecting to show up, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. So, well, let's start with Bookworm, the character. Do you have any?
No. He's one of those characters I remember from the show, and I remember him being relatively prominent, but as far as I can tell, like, this is the only time he shows up.
Yeah, I guess I know him from his, like, appearances in the Batman 66 comic book, but...
He was apparently only in, like, 1 or 2 issues of that.
Really?
Well, he was in one issue, because I was researching the history of the character. He's in one issue of that, which has got an interesting plot where he tries to figure out the identity of Batman using, like, newspaper clippings and stuff of, like, the Cape Crusader. And he's trying to, like, deduce him. I'm pretty sure he showed up in, like, some of the weird crossover ones, like, with Archie and stuff.
Word.
And then I know he's got, like, cameos in, like, The Brave and the Bold and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, as far as
Which King Tut and Egghead do as well. They were also created for this series.
Yeah. But, yeah, this is kind of my first real time spent with this character.
Like, I think I might have seen this episode or the second episode when I was a kid, but, like, he didn't stick out in my head as many of the other villains do, which is kind of surprising because he's kind of great in this.
Yeah. So, yeah, as we said, he's played by Roddy McDowall, who I know as Cornelius from the Planet of the Apes franchise. I think he also... Because Cornelius, I think, is only in the first 3 Planet of the Apes movies. Yeah. So he goes on to play Cornelius's son.
I know he's in other stuff, too. I actually just found out he's the voice of the Mad Hatter in Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, my God, that makes so much sense!
Because I was just about to say, like, he kind of... I think I'm conflating my memories of Bookworm with the Mad Hatter from when I was a kid. And, like, that might be it.
God, alright.
And that's another literary based villain.
Yeah. And I'm sure I said this on the Mad Hatter episode we did, but I love that first Mad Hatter episode from Batman the Animated Series.
It's the best Mad Hatter episode of that show.
I think it's, like, probably my favorite. Like, I like it more than Long Halloween. I think it's great.
Really? That's, like, your high... Like, in terms of just Batman stories, period, it ranks that high for you?
Mad Hatter stories.
Yeah.
Because I know he's in Long Halloween.
Like every villain's in Long Halloween.
That's true. But yeah, I think this is like my favorite. That's my favorite Mad Hatter. So cool, very cool that it's Roddy McDowall.
Yeah, I just was on the Batman wiki and I clicked on Roddy McDowall's link because I think it would take me to his so I can see what other stuff he's in. Because I also mainly know him from Planet of the Apes, but I just showed what other Batman things he's in. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, as far as this being the only Bookworm appearance, I mean, we'll see how episode 2 does, but I really liked this episode, and it's surprising to me that he doesn't come back. So I wonder if just the success of the Planet of the Apes movies just has Roddy McDowall so busy or so expensive that...
Yeah, that's what we're guessing, because the first one was released in 1966. And I know it had, like, a really long, troubled, like, shoot.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know if, like, maybe this is... I don't know which came first in terms of... in terms of production. Because, like, I know especially since he was one of the apes, like, their makeup and stuff took forever. I know there's, like, stories of, like, them, because it's so hard to get in and out of it, that like they would go out to lunch just as apes, like, and there's people like they would just be driving around town,
which is pretty cool.
Especially if like you didn't know what was happening, because like for the time that was really impressive.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Well, that's been this episode of Podcast of the Apes.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a podcast, Planet of the Apes podcast at some point. It'll be very much shorter.
Oh yeah.
Although now they have Marvel Comics, there's more stuff we can dive into.
Oh yeah. Everything has a Marvel comic.
It's because Disney buys everything except for Batman, so we're free from Disney for now.
For now.
Yeah.
So, strap in.
This is the episode starts with a bang. I'll say
A literal bang.
yes. Let's start at the beginning here. We were caught completely off guard by this, and it was one of the. I'm really glad we watched this sitting next to each other.
Yeah, we got to see each other's reaction in real time.
Like what? Yeah.
So we open. It's a beautiful day in the metropolis of Gotham City, as the narrator tells us.
I thought that was fun.
We're at a bridge dedication ceremony. I guess that's the mayor?
Yeah, it's got to be the. I assume it's the mayor about to cut the ribbon. It seemed like an important person.
Yeah.
And it's got to be like other city officials.
Miss Gotham City's there. Yeah. And
Commissioner
Gordon's there. And walking around in the crowd is a man in like a leather button-down suit
with like a fedora and like a goofy pair of glasses and stuff.
Yeah.
So Bruce Wayne and I was about to call him Burt Ward and Dick Grayson are, watching from their stately Wayne Manor.
Yeah. Well, Bruce is barely watching. He's like reading the newspaper or something.
Yeah, probably about the bridge dedication.
But Dick is intently watching, and
that shows the generational gap.
Right?
All these kids today just care about TV. They don't care about the printed word, which it's a Bookworm thing. So
hey, the news camera focuses on Bookworm of all things going on.
Yeah.
But like, not in a way that's like, oh snap, Bookworm is here. It just like focuses on him and then goes back to watching the ribbon cutting ceremony. Bookworm, noticing that he looks very conspicuous here, like ducks behind the news van, and begins communicating with one of his henchmen, who what's the title?
Printer's Devil, I believe. Yeah, Printer's Devil, which I was like, that's a really specific reference, so I looked it up. Printer's Devil is what is the term used for like the apprentice of like a bookmaker back in the day, and I'm like, it's a cool name for a villain because it's got devil in it, but like as terms of the original usage of it, that's so strange that they would use devil in that.
Yeah, true that.
Especially because like all the original books that were like mass produced were like the Bible. Like,
Bookworm sends a message to the Printer's Devil to begin chapter 1.
Yeah, which it's probably the first phase of his plan since they're book themed.
Yeah. So God, how do I put this?
So we're just kind of taking like our notes or just like what's happening, whatever. And I look up and that guy just pulls out a real gun and just shoots Commissioner Gordon and he falls off the bridge to his death. And we had to pause it because we couldn't stop laughing.
So insane.
It was so unexpected for this series. We're just like, they just murdered Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah. Oh, God. So, yeah. Bruce and Dick are like, oh my God.
Because it like shows like a wide shot of the bridge of like him falling like off of it.
Like his body plummeting into the icy water.
It's like, how do they fake that? Like, I mean, not like in terms of the production, but like in the fiction of the show. Because like, Commissioner Gordon's not really dead. Like, as an adult. But like, as a kid, I would have been like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one thing the show doesn't really go into is, who the hell was that?
I don't know. We'll get to that when we get to that, because we get to cut to like Bruce and Dick's reaction, because they just saw him die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're like,
Oh my god.
Yeah, they're taken aback. Aunt Harriet comes walking into the room she was watching in a different room.
Yeah.
She's crying.
Yeah. She's like, I hope they were watching. And they're like, who's they? And like, she means Batman and Robin. And they're like, we have to run out and do something real fast.
They were like,
yeah.
we're going to drive to the city and pay respects.
Yeah.
And they go to the study.
Yeah. Then Batman looks at the audience.
And he says he swears on his oath as a crime fighter that vengeance will be had or something like that.
Yeah.
Or Gordon will be avenged.
Yeah, like, and that's after he has his hand on Beethoven's head for a while, and then he does that, and then they go.
Isn't it Shakespeare?
It's Shakespeare, whoever it is. Sorry, I'm so flabbergasted by the events we're describing.
Yeah, so insane. So yeah, they get on the bat poles and we cue the opening. So nuts. Truly the craziest thing that's ever happened in this show.
I was not anticipating that at all. Because, like, death has been referenced before.
Oh, yeah. We saw someone get atomized.
Yeah, like, Batman mentioned his parents were murdered. They threatened to kill Batman and Robin constantly.
Yeah.
They attempt to kill them constantly, but, like, they could have... This brings up, they could have just pulled out a gun and shot them, at any one of them at any point. Like, guns exist in this world now. I mean, they did, because we saw Batman and Robin get gunned down by the cops at one point.
Yeah, this was more startling.
This was way more startling than that.
So...
Because, yeah, just as the opening gambit, like, that's crazy. So, yeah, we cut, like, Batman and Robin are already at police headquarters with, like, all the cops and stuff are there. But, like,
yeah, but you pointed out something that just shows how much grief, like, how serious this is.
Yeah.
Batman parks in front of the no parking sign.
Yeah, there's a no parking sign, and I was like, wait a second. That's not where Batman would never do that. You've shown me he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
But the reason they show this, he pulls... Oh, I just realized it's cool. It's the first time we've got a different shot of the Batmobile pulling up to police headquarters. But yeah, so... But we see, like... Printer's Devil and, I guess, Bookworm's Mall put a book in the Batmobile while they're running in.
Yeah. So they drop in a book for whom the bell tolls.
By Ernest Hemingway, yeah.
And she drops it in the passenger seat, and then we cut to the inside of Police HQ.
Yeah. Chief O'Hara's lost his mind.
Yeah, he's freaking out.
He's gonna murder Bookworm extrajudicially.
Yeah, he's like gonna strangle his pasty neck or something insane.
Yeah, and Batman's like, take it easy, like, don't be one of those guys.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'll edit that out. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, don't say that.
Yeah.
Gordon comes walking in.
He's just like, I got a ticket. I'm so annoyed.
Yeah, and everyone's just like, what the hell?
Like, I guess that's his secretary, like, because there's just a dame in there.
Yeah. Oh, what was her name? Like Miss Johnson or something?
Yeah, he calls her, like, Miss something, so it's like... I assume it must be, like, his secretary receptionist or something. I've never heard of her before.
Yeah, she, like, runs up and hugs him. He's like, what the hell?
It's like, Batman and Robin, why are you here? I didn't call you.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of funny.
Well, yeah, he spends, like, 2 minutes, like, screaming about this ticket he got.
And then he
says he was arrested for overtime parking.
Yeah.
And, yeah, the officer that gave him the ticket, their name was... A.S. Scarlet.
Did you grab the badge number too? I didn't.
It was like 1887 or something.
Yeah, it's something It's related to the name. But Batman's like, we're here to solve your murder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
it's so funny because he's like, wait, what are you doing here? Like, what is happening? But yeah, just like before. He's so pissed about this ticket that it takes, like, that much time for him to, like, realize, like, something's amiss.
Well, because the police take care of their own.
That's true.
But no, it's a... But yeah, it was like, obviously, yeah, we knew intellectually Gordon was going to be dead. I'm glad they kind of got ahead of that. Like,
yeah.
Although it would have been interesting to see Batman actually solve, like, a murder mystery.
Yeah, but the tone would be so weird.
The tone would be so off for this show. Yeah.
But, so yeah, Batman puts together the A.S. Scarlet Relates to some. Did you catch
that and the numbers? It relates to a Sherlock Holmes
story?
Yeah, because they know Bookworm was there, so they're probably already thinking on like the literary angle of it. Because they say the badge number, and Chief O'Hara is like, "There's no one with that badge number. Like that's not a badge number we have." So obviously he got detained. So Batman deduces that it was a false thing, and they had like a trained skydiver, or not skydiver, like high diver.
Yeah.
Do like pretend to be Gordon and be a murder victim.
Truly nuts. All of a sudden, an alarm goes off from Batman's utility belt.
Yeah, he pulls out like a big Tiger Electronics looking thing. And it's the Batmobile's like bomb detector. It's going off because it turns out that book was more than just a book. They like do the ejector seat thing again. It works this time, fortunately.
Yeah.
And it goes up into the sky and explodes in like a puff of like colored gas.
It's pretty cheap looking.
The effect shot was shockingly bad for the show. The show's pretty good with its effects. It like uses them in a way that like either hides the 60s television nature of it, or like is in a way that's like charming, like how they walk up the side of the building, but like it's obviously just a camera on the side. Yeah. You know what I mean?
This you could like see the string holding the explosive.
Yeah, and just like yeah, it was like a ball that just, and it wasn't a book. It was just like a ball that like had smoke come out of it.
Yeah. So the Batmobile is saved. Batman and Robin rush outside.
It's like papers falling everywhere. Yeah.
The printer's devil.
Yeah, he's got like a transceiver or whatever inside a book, and he's talking to Bookworm, being like, "Well, that part didn't. Plot A is what they called it. It didn't work."
Which I love.
Which I guess so that plot A was maybe just blow them up. So plot B is still working, like where like I guess the book's asbestos laden cover, so it would survive that, would be like a clue. Yeah. And then Batman and Robin come out, and he like turns like to the front half of the book, which is like real words, and it's just like eating a sandwich, just being like, I'm just a guy reading a book, and there was just an explosion in front of me, and I'm not reacting to it.
Yeah. And Batman and Robin turn to him and just like, where did this book cover come from?
Yeah. Like, did you see who put that in the Batmobile? He's like, no, Batman, I ain't seen nothing.
Yeah, well, he's like, oh, this book cover fell from the sky after that explosion.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like very much like, who cares?
Yeah, I think it'd be more. I think that makes him more suspicious in being so nonchalant about the whole thing. Granted, this probably happens constantly in Gotham.
Yeah, it seems to be a weekly
like,
thing.
Penguin throws giant umbrellas everywhere. Just ruining everyone's day trying to get to work.
So yeah, back at Bookworm HQ, we get to see like another kind of unhinged thing.
Well, because is this before or after Batman mentioned like he was kind of like that Bookworm was like a failed novelist that he is or something?
So it's after they do mention that about him.
Yeah, because I think they're talking about that when they were getting the book cover, because they mentioned like how he leaves like he's trying to tell like a story or whatever, because they're trying to figure out what his plan is. He's like the failed novelist he is, because I guess this ties into his motivation to be insane.
So at Bookworm HQ, the hench lady, Lydia is her name.
Lydia Limpet.
She's like she's like all over Bookworm, praising him. And then she's like, when are you going to write your bestseller? And Bookworm like snaps. And he starts freaking out, and he picks up this giant book.
Well, he goes on, like, it's a great, like, acting performance.
Oh, yeah, for
this.
sure.
Yeah. Where he goes on and on about, like, his failure and shortcoming, like, how he can't do anything original. Like, even though he can read all these books and knows all of them. He picks up this giant, humongous prop book and is going to just clobber her to death with it.
Yeah, which I thought was also insane.
Yeah. But then he sees the title of the book, and it's like a self-help book about self-control. And it's like the size of a child.
Yeah. Truly, truly insane.
Yeah, so anyway, he then, like, puts the book down on like one of those like book reading pedestals. I don't know what they're called. But then just like reads the whole thing in like seconds.
Yeah, I guess this is like.
Yeah, it's called having like an edict memory where you can remember everything you've seen or read. But I guess that's more than just a hobby. It's his superpower.
Yeah, which is weird.
It's very weird.
Anyway, this book gives him a new idea. So Batman and Robin, we cut to them driving around town in the Batmobile. They mention that in the book For Whom the Bell Tolls, one of the, or I guess the main character's motivation is to blow up a bridge.
Yeah, because obviously they're like, how's this tie in with the bridge before? See, when they invoke Sherlock Holmes, I thought they were talking about when Holmes and Moriarty went off the bridge. Like, that was supposed to be like how they died. Or not a bridge, it was a waterfall. And then like they had to come back for another story. Like, so it was just they came up with like a bullshit reason for them, like him to be alive, like in the next book.
Some traditions never go away, huh?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I was trying to piece it together as well, because not like the Riddler ones where I'm like actively trying to solve the riddles. Just like as you're watching it, like you try to figure it out, like along with the characters.
Yeah, there is a bit of a mystery here.
Yeah. Because I'm with Batman Robin. I don't get what the hell his plan is right now.
So they get a call. Well, first they see the bat signal in the sky, which is a rare treat for us on Batcast.
Yeah, we don't get this. We know it exists in the show, but like they don't use it because as soon as they see it, they get a call on the Batmobile because Commissioner Gordon can just straight up call them. Like they don't necessarily need the bat signal to signal Batman and Robin are needed.
Yeah, so they get a call about something weird going down at some building.
Yeah, it was like a warehouse or something.
Yeah. And when they arrive...
Oh, no, before then, because they have to use the emergency
bat
turn. So they do that footage where there's like, where it has the parachutes and everything, like to stop their speed so they can turn around. And then they call up the Batmobile, like, parachute pickup guy, and a man driving, like, a truck labeled that goes and, like, drives away to go get that. And I'm like, that's such a fun little detail.
Yeah, that sounds like a great job, honestly.
Yeah, I kind of want to know how many people are in Batman's, like, employ.
You just sit around and wait to pick up the parachutes.
Like, you see the bat signal in the sky. Like, maybe that's why they're like, people be like, all right, I got to get ready. Stations, everyone. I don't know if they're going to use this particular gadget, but I need to go get it back.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, maybe that's a cool Batman story to write someday. Instead of him fighting the Joker for, like, the 10 billionth time.
Yeah, who cleans up?
Yeah. Well, Marvel has a thing called damage control, which is kind of a fun concept. I don't think DC has anything like that.
Who knows?
But it would be fun.
So Batman and Robin head to this warehouse, and projected on the side of it is a blown up picture of the bridge.
Yeah, so get it, they blew up the bridge. Because it's wordplay, because words are in books.
Words are in books.
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure out where the projection is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And they figured they better get...
like a higher vantage point.
Yeah. So they want to climb a building, but it's too high for their regular bat ropes. So they pull out like this mortar that shoots like a grappling hook. Yeah,
so they can climb up high. And so this leads to one of the famous Batman and Robin like climbing a building scenes, but it leads to an even more famous and the first time this happened in the show, which I thought we weren't going to see this until season 2 maybe, when the show got was Batmania was a thing and everyone wanted to be involved.
Yeah.
Well, we got our first window cameo.
Yeah. Jerry Lewis pops his head out and is just like, oh, it's Batman and Robin.
Yeah, and they're just like, go away, and then he does. It was very strange. Like, I don't think he was a specific character, right?
No.
I think he just was, Jerry Lewis was just there.
Yeah. So that's that. Yeah, the first cameo.
Yeah.
You got any Jerry Lewis memories?
I mean, he was the original Nutty Professor. I mostly know Jerry Lewis as the inspiration for Professor Frink on The Simpsons. I never really watched much Jerry Lewis stuff.
Yeah, me neither.
I know he's big in France. I mean, I know he's a comedy legend. Just, I never grew up with his stuff. Like,
was he like on the Scooby-Doo movies or something?
Oh, I'm sure he was. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he was.
Yeah, I don't know much about him myself, and thankfully you don't have to know much because he's gone.
Yeah.
Little cameo. That's fun.
Yeah, it didn't distract from anything. It was just like, oh, I think it was more interesting just that was the first time it happened on the show because I know that's like a famous thing.
Yeah. I think during this back half of season 1, like I feel like they were filming it as
as it was coming out, yeah.
Because we had a callback to the Bat-2C, which I feel like was like, why would they do that twice if it wasn't like a popular thing? Yeah,
this one definitely feels like more in line with the show as like pop culture remembers it now.
Yes.
Like it's gotten much not that it was very grounded before, but it feels much more heightened.
Yeah. But that's cool.
Yeah, I'm down.
So they see where the projection's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And they climb back down and find the bookmobile.
Yeah, which is perfect.
Oh, yeah. So perfect.
And it's got like a projector on the top and it's going out. So yeah, they drive up to it in the Batmobile.
And they're like, oh, it looks abandoned, but just in case, let's blast it with a sonic bat beam.
Yeah.
What's it, it's like 1,200 decibels or something they set it to? Yeah,
which causes everyone to come rolling out in pain. But we very clearly see that his mall is tied up in there. And then the Bookworm and his goons run off. And Batman and Robin don't turn that thing off and chase them away, so she's just there getting tortured by this thing.
Yeah, I guess so. They never... The show doesn't seem to think that, but it doesn't do anything to,
Yeah. They showed us that someone has to get the parachutes. They didn't show us that someone needed to turn off the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it has an automatic timer for safety reasons for civilians.
So they chase Bookworm and his goons into this alleyway.
Yeah.
And Bookworm jumps into this box.
Well, but first then he's like, oh, the Art of War, he basically page, paragraph, whatever, tells them essentially a formation to go into, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, and they do a lap around Batman and Robin.
Yeah, then he hides in this box. And then it's a cut of Batman and Robin surrounded by these guys, and they're like, "Gentlemen, please take off your glasses."
Yeah, all the goons are wearing glasses.
And when he turns around, he's like, "Remember here, man with glasses." And they all take them off, and then they all start the typical Batman brawl, which is fun. It's a fun joke and a fun gag, but it's also I think I turned to you and I was like, if they kept their glasses on, would they have just been immune to Batman and Robin and they just beat the shit out of them?
Maybe that's the plan right there. Got to take advantage of Batman's goody two-shoes nature.
Exactly.
So Batman and Robin overpower the goons. I think Robin says 6-1, the odds are, or 6-2, the odds are in our favor, or something like that.
Yeah.
So during the fight, Bookworm keeps popping his head out of this box, which I thought was pretty amusing. But Batman and Robin just keep throwing goons into the same box Bookworm
and I think I made a notice, is they can't all fit in that. Does it have a bottomless hole, at the bottom? And they're like, oh, there was an escape hatch.
Yeah.
They did escape. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because they go over to the box and it's just empty.
They're we threw 30 dudes in here.
Very funny. They return to the bookmobile to free the captive.
And I guess look for clues or whatever.
Yeah. Robin yells, "Holy Cinderella."
I am glad that Batman, I think we paused here for a minute just to catch up on our notes. And I remember I said, wow, they're doing this whole fake captive thing again. Because then Batman stops Robin from going in and is like, wait, I think they're doing this trick on us again.
Yeah. He's like, this wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, I was like, that's great. I'm so happy.
So they concoct this plan where they're going to gas her. like put her to sleep.
So they can take her to the Batcave.
Yeah, and they like run a lie detector test on her.
Now, before they do this to her, they do explain to her everything that's about to happen. Like, it's not like it's not like he's like the villains and just gasses people.
He says, "I'm going to gas you."
But like, here's what's going to happen: you're going to suffer no ill will, or no ill effects, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's like in like a trance, and they have her hooked up to like a big lie detector. So because they established that she still thinks that she's in the bookmobile. She doesn't know where she doesn't realize she's in the Batcave.
Yeah.
Talking to Batman and Robin, so like they're in her subconscious.
So yeah, she would like reveals her name and
Yeah.
that she is a bad guy.
Yeah, and that like Bookworm has not told them her plans, so she can't actually help them with that.
But they do take her back to the bookmobile.
Yeah.
And put her just as she was.
Mm-hmm.
Which I feel like that whole trip would use a lot of gas.
Yeah, that should take a lot of time.
But anyway, they wake her up, and she's like, "Oh, thanks for rescuing me, Batman and Robin."
Here's what Bookworm's plan is.
Yeah, and it's this.
They're getting them to like meet at like they're gonna steal like the Declaration of Independence or something.
Yeah, from a replica of
like Independence Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're essentially she's telling them like a trap.
Yeah, setting them up for a trap, and they know it.
They know it because they already did this whole thing.
Yeah. So
Batman's like, all right, we'll get an ambulance here to come take care of you, or whatever.
And she's like, "Oh, don't leave me." So he leaves Robin.
Yeah, but like he makes a big show of like, oh, we're getting you an ambulance, but they're calling the cops to come get her, because they know she's a bad guy. And then so it's like, oh, you stay with her, make sure nothing happens. I'll go do Batman things. I forget exactly what he says.
Yeah,
No, he's like gonna go spring the trap because Bookworm doesn't know that he knows that it's a trap.
Yes.
Yeah. So he thinks he still has an element of surprise on him. But so Robin's there with her, but like Robin keeps calling her by her name, which she didn't tell him consciously what her name was. So she basically is like, well, can you well, first she's like flirting with him. I'm like, hey, he's like 16. Like, I guess she really is a bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, the only other time, like, a villainess did that with Robin, like, she was also a teenager working for the Joker, so it was age appropriate.
Yeah. Her.
Whatever her name is, I don't
cheerleader.
remember. Yeah. But, she's like, oh, can you read me the fourth book on that shelf? She's like, no, not that one, that one. And like, there's a specific book, and it's like, the history of English literature. Someone's like, oh, man, books like this always put me to sleep. And, of course, when he opens it, it's full of purple knockout gas. And it puts him to sleep. Yep. And then she pulls out another book that has, like, a transmitter in it. It's like, I've got Boy Wonder. Batman and Robin are aware of my plans. He's kept using my name.
Yeah, somehow they know who I am.
So now, Bookworm knows that Batman knows that it's a trap, but Batman doesn't know that Bookworm knows that Batman knows that it's a trap.
Yeah.
So it's back to being a normal trap.
Yep.
Yeah.
Meanwhile.
Yeah.
Or rather, afterward.
Yeah. They see that Robin's tied to like the thing inside of a bell.
Yeah.
That like rings it. It's like 1 minute to midnight, and then it'll like splatter his brains all over the inside of this thing.
Yep.
And we know he's probably a stone cold killer.
Probably. He was about to kill his lady there.
Yeah, and like his plan involved murdering, or he's making, because it could have been a high diver. He could have just murdered somebody that like is just like pretend to be Commissioner Gordon, who could have just shot him.
Maybe that's what happened to Falseface.
Yeah.
Maybe
that was Falseface.
Yeah, he like was like, "Yo, get in on this plan with me," and then they're like, "I don't want to split whatever
whatever I lied to you about." Yeah.
Yeah. So kill him.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the comics,
I was going to say, if it wasn't for the comic, that would be my headcanon too, yeah.
So yeah. One thing we learn about this clock tower
oh yeah,
is that it was built in dedication to Thomas Wayne.
Or was at least named after him or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, yeah, they said Bruce Wayne's father.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I was like, that's neat. Like a piece of like world building.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, but overall, this was a pretty good episode.
Dude, so dense.
There was so much happening in it.
Never a dull moment. It felt like it flew by.
This was a roller coaster.
So fun.
This is like almost all of the Batman 66 tropes like rolled into one. Like, how are they going to do the second half?
I don't know.
But I'm excited to get into it.
Me too.
Yeah. What's it called? While Gotham City Burns. Yeah. The Bookworm terms while Gotham City burns. That's a pretty good couplet, too. Sometimes they're pretty stupid. And, like, don't really... They just rhyme.
Not yet, he ain't. Or
Yeah.
what was it called?
Yeah, Penguin Gone Straight, not yet, he ain't. Yeah. Which, I love those episodes, but...
All right, well, we hope to see y'all, or force you to listen to our voices in 2 weeks. Same Batcast time, same Batcast channel.